All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm V. Ravi Kumar and with me is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav. The headlines. Centre seeks report from Punjab government over security breach during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Firozpur district. Home Minister Amit Shah says dereliction of security procedure in Prime Minister's visit totally unacceptable and accountability will be fixed. Election Commission reviews preparedness for upcoming assembly elections in Manipur. India's COVID vaccination coverage crosses 148 crore 58 lakh mark, over 1 crore 24 lakh cumulative vaccine doses administered to adolescents so far. Health Ministry revises guidelines for home isolation of mild and asymptomatic cases. Indigenous RT-PCR kit to detect Omicron in 4 hours gets DCGI approval. Himachal Pradesh, Bihar and Tamil Nadu impose night curfew from today amid rise in COVID cases. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and new German Chancellor express hope of cooperation initiatives in areas of climate action and green energy. And in cricket, South Africa to resume their second innings at the overnight score of 118 for 2 on day 4 of the second test at Johannesburg today. As India marches towards administering 150 crore vaccine doses against COVID-19, news about the new corona variant is a cause for concern. We appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, get vaccinated, as the nationwide vaccination of teenagers also is underway now. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. The Union Home Ministry has sought a detailed report from the Punjab government on the security breach during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Firozpur district of Punjab. The Prime Minister's scheduled rally in Firozpur district was cancelled yesterday due to a breach in his security. Taking cognizance of the incident, the ministry has asked the state government to fix responsibility for this lapse and take strict action. It said the Prime Minister landed at Bathinda yesterday morning, from where he was to go to the National Martyrs Memorial at Hussainiwala by helicopter. But due to rain and poor visibility, he waited for about 20 minutes for the weather to clear out. When the weather didn't improve, it was decided that he would visit the National Martyrs Memorial via road. He proceeded to travel by road after necessary confirmation of security arrangements by the DGP Punjab Police. The ministry said around 30 kilometers away from the memorial, when Mr. Modi's convoy reached a flyover, it was found that the road was blocked by some protesters. The Prime Minister was stuck on a flyover for 15 to 20 minutes, which was a major lapse in the security. The ministry said after the security lapse, it was decided to head back to Bathinda Airport. Later, taking to Twitter, Home Minister Amit Shah said, such dereliction of security procedure in the Prime Minister's visit is totally unacceptable and accountability will be fixed. BJP leader and Union Minister Smriti Irani yesterday hit out at the Congress government in Punjab for the security breach of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the state. Briefing media in New Delhi, Ms. Irani said, never before in the history of our country were police functionaries in a state directed to breach the security of a Prime Minister and bring him harm. Mrs. Irani said, such is the breakdown of law and order in Punjab that the DGP police claims he is incapable of providing security support and details to the PMO.
I am sure the nation shares our outrage at this incident. We know that the Congress party hates Modi, but today they tried to harm the Prime Minister of India. Such is the breakdown of law and order in the state of Punjab that the DGP police claims he is incapable of providing security support to the Prime Minister's office. Such is the state of administration in Punjab that a security detail, a security run, that is a protocol administratively to be followed for the head of state, was today dismantled so that Narendra Modi could be brought to harm.
BJP President Jagat Prakash Nadda also slammed the Congress-led Punjab government in connection with the security breach of the Prime Minister during his visit to the state. In a series of tweets, Mr. Nadda said that fearing a resounding defeat at the hands of the electorate, the Congress government in Punjab tried all possible tricks to scuttle the Prime Minister's programs in the state.
Punjab Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi has said that no lapse in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's security took place near Firozpur. Addressing a press conference at Chandigarh, he also said that according to the initial itinerary of the Prime Minister Modi's visit, there was no mention of a visit by road. Expressing his respect for the Prime Minister, Mr. Channi said that whatever happened shall be proved. The Election Commission of India (ECI) held a virtual meeting yesterday to review the poll preparedness for the forthcoming assembly elections in Manipur. The meeting was held by Chief Election Commissioner Sushil Chandra, in which Election Commissioners Rajiv Kumar and Anup Chandra Pandey were also present. The term of State Assembly in Manipur is to expire on the 19th of March, and elections are scheduled for 60 assembly constituencies. Representatives of various political parties including BJP, Congress, TMC, Left and Naga People's Front attended the meeting through video conferencing. The main issues raised by the political parties included concerns about use of money power, illicit liquor, narcotics, drugs and intimidation to influence voters. Political parties requested for strict vigil on election expenses by candidates to ensure free and fair poll. While expressing concerns about pre-poll violence, the political parties demanded deployment of adequate security forces during the poll process and other relevant measures. The political parties also raised concerns about implementation of strict COVID protocols for safety of everybody.
India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed the 148 crore 58 lakh mark. The Union Health Ministry said more than 82 lakh vaccine doses were administered till 7 p.m. yesterday. Out of this, more than 37,44,000 doses were administered to adolescents in the age group of 15 to 18 years. The ministry said over 1 crore 24 lakh cumulative COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered to adolescents between 15 to 18 age group so far since the start of vaccination drive for adolescents. Meanwhile, 2,135 Omicron cases have been detected in 24 states and union territories in the country. Briefing media in New Delhi yesterday, Joint Secretary in the Union Health Ministry Love Agarwal said that out of the total Omicron cases, 828 infected people have recovered and there are 1,306 active cases of Omicron. During the briefing, Director General of ICMR Dr. Balram Bhargav said, Omicron detecting RT-PCR kit has been developed in partnership with Tata MD and ICMR and it has been approved by DCGI.
Omicron detecting RT-PCR kit has been developed in partnership with Tata MD and ICMR and has been approved by the Drug Controller General of India. This new kit will test for Omicron in 4 hours and will augment the genome sequencing efforts of the country.
The Himachal Pradesh cabinet has decided to put some restrictions in the wake of increasing number of COVID-19 cases in the state. The cabinet decided to impose night curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. across the state, besides closing indoor sports complexes, cinema halls, multiplexes, stadia, swimming pools, gyms and langars in the state. The cabinet meeting was chaired by Chief Minister Jairam Thakur in Shimla yesterday to review COVID-19 situation in the state. Talking to AIR News, Himachal Chief Minister Jairam Thakur said this order came into effect immediately in all districts and will remain in force till further orders.
निर्णय लिया प्रदेश की जो कोविड की सिचुएशन को ध्यान में रखते हुए एक तो हमने तय किया कि सोशल गैदरिंग्स पर 50% टोटल कैपेसिटी का वही अलाउ किया। मंदिरों में दर्शन करने के लिए तो हमने अनुमति अभी रखी है फिलहाल, लेकिन लंगर और ये जागरण वगैरह किए जाते हैं उस पर भी रोक लगाई है। और इसके अलावा जो हमारे क्लब है और स्विमिंग पूल है उन सब पर जो है रोक लगाई है। कोविड की सिचुएशन को ध्यान में रखते हुए जो होटलियर एसोसिएशन उनसे आग्रह किया है, उनको हमने निर्देश भी किए हैं इस बात को लेकर के कि वो सुनिश्चित करें कि कोविड के प्रोटोकॉल का वहां पर पालन करें और हमारा प्रशासन जो है वो वहां पर इस सारी चीज की मॉनिटरिंग भी करेगा। और जो टूरिस्ट हिमाचल प्रदेश में आए हैं उनके लिए ये आवश्यक कर दिया कि वो जो है कोविड के नियमों का पालन करें, अन्यथा जो है वो हिमाचल प्रदेश में आएंगे तो जो कानूनी कार्रवाई उस दृष्टि से होगी उस पर भी हमने विचार किया है।
In Bihar, night curfew will come into effect from today from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the wake of the recent spurt in the COVID-19 cases. The night curfew will remain in force till the 21st of this month. However, essential activities will be permitted during these hours. All shops and business establishments will remain open only till 8 p.m. Schools up to class 8th will remain closed till the 21st of January. Government and private offices will function with 50% attendance. Restaurants will also function with 50% capacity. Only 50 persons will be allowed to attend marriages and funerals. In the wake of rising COVID cases, the Tamil Nadu government has announced night curfew in the state from today. Night curfew will be in place from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. According to latest guidelines, transport services and other essential services like ATM, petrol pumps, vehicles carrying LPG, newspaper, milk and pharmaceuticals will be allowed to function at night. Total lockdown will be imposed in the state on Sunday. Rental cars will be allowed to function at airports and railway stations. Physical classes for all standards except 10th, 11th and 12th will not be conducted. Training and coaching centers will be closed. Pongal festival celebrations organized by both government organizations have been postponed.
Madhya Pradesh government has issued new guidelines in the wake of rising COVID-19 cases in the state. As per the fresh guidelines, only 250 persons will be permitted in the wedding functions and only 50 persons will be allowed to attend funerals. More from our Bhopal correspondent.
Additional Chief Secretary Home Dr. Rajesh Rajora informed that all types of fairs in which people gather will be banned. These instructions have become effective with immediate effect till further orders. Collectors of the districts have been instructed to take necessary preventive action by declaring containment zones in their districts as per requirement. Along with these instructions, the guidelines issued earlier regarding night curfew will also remain effective. Meanwhile, the state reported 594 new COVID positive cases, including 319 in Indore and 92 in Bhopal. The number of active cases increased to 1,554. Pooja P. Vardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Centre seeks report from Punjab government over security breach during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Firozpur district. Home Minister Amit Shah says dereliction of security procedure in Prime Minister's visit totally unacceptable and accountability will be fixed. Election Commission reviews preparedness for upcoming assembly elections in Manipur. India's COVID vaccination coverage crosses 148 crore 58 lakh mark, over 1 crore 24 lakh cumulative vaccine doses administered to adolescents so far. Health Ministry revises guidelines for home isolation of mild and asymptomatic cases. Indigenous RT-PCR kit to detect Omicron in 4 hours gets DCGI approval. Himachal Pradesh, Bihar and Tamil Nadu impose night curfew from today amid rise in COVID cases. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and new German Chancellor express hope of cooperation initiatives in areas of climate action and green energy. And in cricket, South Africa to resume their second innings at overnight score of 118 for 2 on day 4 of second test at Johannesburg today. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
पहले जो सरकार में थे वो माफिया को संरक्षण देते थे। आज योगी जी की सरकार माफिया की सफाई में जुटी है। ये तभी तो यूपी के लोग कहते हैं फर्क साफ है।
हमारे नए उत्तर प्रदेश में माफियाओं, दंगाइयों और भ्रष्टों पर हो रहा प्रहार है, इसीलिए फर्क साफ है। 2017 के पहले आस्था का होता था अपमान, 2017 के बाद उसे मिल रहा उचित सम्मान। फर्क साफ है। 2017 से पहले मेरठ से दिल्ली पहुंचना था दूभर, 2017 के बाद दिल्ली बस 1 घंटे दूर। फर्क साफ है।
The Union Health Ministry has issued revised guidelines for home isolation of mild and asymptomatic COVID-19 cases. As per the guidelines, the COVID patient must isolate themselves from other household members, stay in the identified room and away from other people in home, especially elderly and those with comorbid conditions. Self-monitoring of blood oxygen saturation and a pulse oximeter for the patient is advised. The patient and caregiver must seek immediate medical attention if serious signs or symptoms develop. These could include unresolved high-grade fever of more than 100 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 3 days, difficulty in breathing, dip in oxygen saturation, persistent pain in the chest, and severe fatigue and myalgia. The guidelines say the patient must be in communication with the treating medical officer and promptly report in case of any deterioration during home isolation. They will follow symptomatic management for fever, running nose, and cough. The ministry said for home isolation, the patient should be clinically assigned as mild or asymptomatic case by the treating medical officer, and they should have the requisite facility at their residence for self-isolation. The guidelines say that the patient under home isolation will stand discharged and end isolation after at least 7 days have passed from testing positive and no fever for 3 successive days. There is no need for retesting after the home isolation period is over. In view of increase in COVID-19 cases, Delhi government has increased the number of beds in its 9 hospitals. According to an order of Delhi Health Department, beds have been increased from 3,316 to 4,350. The beds have been increased in Indira Gandhi Hospital, Lok Nayak Hospital, Guru Tegh Bahadur Hospital, Buradi Hospital, Rajiv Gandhi Super Specialty Hospital, Ambedkar Nagar Hospital, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Hospital, Deepchand Bandhu Hospital, and Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Hospital. The US has recorded more than 1 million new COVID cases as officials warn the peak of a fast-spreading Omicron surge is still to come. A record 10,80,211 cases were reported on Monday, the highest one-day tally of new cases anywhere in the world, according to Johns Hopkins University. The Omicron variant accounts for the majority of cases in the US.
In our bilingual live phone-in program, Corona Jagrukta series, phone-in with public, Dr. Balbir Singh of Max Hospital, Saket in Delhi will be with us tonight to answer the queries related to coronavirus. Listeners can ask questions to the expert from 9:30 p.m. on the telephone number 011 2342 1230. India's total coal production registered a growth of 6.74% in the last month. A total of 74.78 million tons were produced during December 2021 as compared to the same period in 2019. The Coal Ministry said captive blocks registered a growth of around 41% by producing 8.91 million tons of coal during the period. These growths were registered despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Federal Chancellor of Germany Olaf Scholz have agreed on further diversifying cooperation and exchanges in new areas, including climate action and green energy. Prime Minister Modi held a telephonic conversation with Mr. Scholz yesterday and congratulated him on his appointment as the German Chancellor. Mr. Modi expressed his appreciation for the immense contribution of former Chancellor Angela Merkel in strengthening the India-Germany strategic partnership and looked forward to continuing this positive momentum under the leadership of Mr. Scholz. The two leaders agreed that there was significant synergy in the governance priorities announced by the new German government and India's own economic vision. The News Services Division brings glimpses of the year that was in our special Year-Ender series. Today, we look at the numerous steps taken by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry for growth during the pandemic. The Narendra Modi government has taken a series of measures to ameliorate the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Indian economy. Interacting with captains of industries in August last year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said that in the post-COVID world, when there is an extensive debate on the global supply chain, India has to maximize the efforts to take advantage of the new opportunities.
फ्रेंड्स, जब ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी में हमारी हिस्सेदारी सबसे अधिक थी और वो समय था हमारा देश का, उसका एक बड़ा कारण भारत का ताकतवर ट्रेड और एक्सपोर्ट था. हमारे दुनिया के लगभग हर हिस्से के साथ ट्रेड लिंक्स रहे हैं और ट्रेड रूट्स भी रहे हैं. आज जब हम ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी में अपनी उस पुरानी हिस्सेदारी को वापस पाने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं, तब भी हमारे एक्सपोर्ट का रोल बहुत अहम है. पोस्ट कोविड ग्लोबल वर्ल्ड में जब ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन को लेकर आज एक व्यापक डिबेट है, तब हमें नए अवसरों का लाभ उठाने के लिए पूरी ताकत लगा देनी है.
More on this from our correspondent.
The government has used the pandemic as an opportunity and took effective steps to spur the economic growth. The announcement of the Atmanirbhar Bharat package amounting to 29.87 lakh crore rupees as well as targeted intervention helped the economy and livelihood. The year 2020 witnessed turmoil due to COVID-19 pandemic, which emerged as the biggest threat to economic growth. The major reforms undertaken under Atmanirbhar Bharat package include credit guarantee for MSME loans, sectoral structural reforms, reforms in public procurement, setting up empowered group of secretaries and project development cells for facilitating investment. India has achieved the highest ever exports of $37 billion in December 2021, showing a 37% jump from December 2020. India's exports also touched $300 billion mark during April to December 2021 and is expected to reach $400 billion by end of this fiscal. With Anand Kumar, Anupam Mishra, AR News, Delhi.
And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News, Birth of a Nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
निज भाषा उन्नति है सब उन्नति को मूल, बिन निज भाषा ज्ञान के मिटत नहीं को सूल.
In today's episode, we remember nationalist, the father of Hindi literature and Hindi theatre, Bharatendu Harish Chandra, who died on the 6th of January 1885.
अंग्रेजी पढ़ी के जदपि सब गुण होत प्रवीण, पैनिज भाषा ज्ञान बिन रहत हीन के हीन.
Bharatendu was barely 7 years old when the First War of Independence of 1857 took place, which left a deep impression on young Harish Chandra.
Bharatendu was a precursor to the Hindi Renaissance. He was the man behind what is known as the Hindi vernacular nationalism and the driving force behind the mass movement that culminated in the popular slogan, Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan.
उन्नति पूरी है तभी जब घर उन्नति होए, निज शरीर उन्नति किए, रहत मूड सब कोय.
His journals were vociferous in their critique of the oppressive policies of the British government.
Harish Chandra represented the agonies of the people, the country's poverty, dependency, inhuman exploitation, the unrest of the middle class, and the urge for the progress of the country. His play, Andher Nagari Chaupat Raja, Take Ser Bhaji, Take Ser Khaja, is a satire on the irrational and autocratic British government system.
Bharatendu used new media, especially publications, to shape public opinion. He launched the first Hindi movement in the country. Written in Khadi Boli, his plays, poems, prose and journals were widely distributed across North India.
निज भाषा उन्नति बिना कबहू न होए होए सोए, लाख उपाय अनेक यूं भले किरे किन कोय.
The status of Khadi Boli, thought of as an inferior dialect, was elevated as Bharatendu's journals reached the reading public in the country.
एक भाषा एक जीव एक मति सब घर के लोग, तबे बनत है सबन सो मिटत मूर्ता सो.
The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting of India has been giving the Bharatendu Harish Chandra Award since 1983 to promote original writings in Hindi mass communication. We salute the great Indian nationalist.
We also remember playwright Vijay Dhundopanta Tendulkar, who was born on the 6th of January 1928 in Kolhapur, Maharashtra. He participated in the 1942 Indian Freedom Movement at the age of 14 years, leaving his studies. He is considered as a leading fighter for cultural freedom through his plays, movie and television screenplays and journalism primarily in Marathi language. Tendulkar grew up watching plays and at age 11 he wrote, directed and acted in his first play. He is best known for his plays Shantata, Korta Chalu Ahe, Ghashiram Kotwal and Sakharam Binder. Thematically, his plays have ranged from the alienation of the modern individual to contemporary politics, from socio-individual tensions to the complexities of human character, from the exploration of man-woman relationships to reinterpretations of historical episodes.
Many of his plays derived inspiration from real-life incidents or social upheavals, which provides clear light on harsh realities. He is the recipient of many prestigious awards. We salute the great man.
We also remember 3 residents of Barka, district Gurgaon, Haryana. Khushiram, son of Chandu Meo, Amir, son of Mubarak Meo, and Ranbaz Meo, son of Malkhan Meo, who took part in the First War of Indian Independence of 1857. They were arrested by the British authorities, tried for sedition, and sentenced to death, martyred on the 6th of January 1858. We salute the great sons of the soil.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Best wishes to all consumers for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Hallmark ensures purity of gold. Always purchase hallmarked gold jewelry. For any consumer-related complaints, please contact National Consumer Helpline toll-free number 14404. Issued in public interest by Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. Jago Grahak Jago. In cricket, South Africa will resume their second innings as the overnight score of 118 for 2 on day 4 today to chase the 240-run target set by India in the second test at Johannesburg. Skipper Dean Elgar with 46 runs and Rajiv Dozen with 11 runs were at the crease at the end of the third day's play yesterday. The hosts still need 122 runs to win the match. Early in the day, the men in blue, with the help of Cheteshwar Pujara's 53 runs and Ajankya Rahane's 58, scored 266 runs in their second innings. Hanuma Vihari remained not out at 40.
In tennis, the Indian pair of Ramkumar Ramanathan and Rohan Bopanna have entered the men's doubles quarterfinals of the Adelaide International ATP tournament in Australia. In the ATP 250 men's event, the Indian duo defeated the American pair of Nathaniel Lamons and Jackson Withrow 6-7, 7-6, 10-4 in a super tiebreaker in the second round. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for today. Srinagar will have light snow. Temperature will hover between 0 and 6 degrees Celsius. Jammu will have a generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. The minimum temperature was 10 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be around 17 degrees. Leh is likely to have light snow. The minimum and maximum temperature will hover between -8 and -3 degrees Celsius. Gilgit will have rain or snow. The temperature will hover between 1 and 4 degrees Celsius. Muzaffarabad will have partly cloudy sky. The minimum temperature was 5 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 14 degrees Celsius. The national capital Delhi will have a generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. The minimum temperature was 11 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be around 20 degrees.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. PM's car, Cotton Punjab stir, unacceptable lapse, says Shah. Headlines The Hindu. The Tribune quotes the Punjab Chief Minister as saying that there was no lapse and the route was changed at last minute. Home isolation cut to 7 days as third wave surges, says Hindustan Times. The Times of India headlines over 10,500 cases, 8 deaths in Delhi, positivity nears 12%. The Indian Express reports that asymptomatic contacts won't be tested. The Statesman announces that India has crossed 1 crore vaccine milestone for kids. Booster vax to be same as first 2 doses, reports Business Standard. Government says rupees 8 lakh EWS income cap best way forward, writes The Hindu. The paper adds that it has urged the Supreme Court to allow NEET counselling. Banks report robust credit growth led by retail SMEs, says The Hindu business line. Third arrest in Hey app, 21-year-old DU student from Uttarakhand, writes The Indian Express. Sensex reclaims 60,000 marks, headlines Business Standard. And finally, 10.74 lakh birds flock to Chilika Lake, says The Hindu.
And now before we end the bulletins, the headlines once again. Centre seeks report from Punjab government over security breach during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Firozpur district. Home Minister Amit Shah said the dereliction of security procedure in Prime Minister's visit totally unacceptable and accountability will be fixed. Election Commission reviews preparedness for upcoming assembly elections in Manipur. India's COVID vaccination coverage crosses 148 crore 58 lakh mark. Over 1 crore 24 lakh cumulative vaccine doses administered to adolescents so far. Health Ministry revises guidelines for home isolation of mild and asymptomatic cases. Indigenous RT-PCR kit to detect Omicron in 4 hours gets DCGI approval. Himachal Pradesh, Bihar and Tamil Nadu impose night curfew from today amid rise in COVID cases. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and new German Chancellor express hope of cooperation initiatives in areas of climate action and green energy. And in cricket, South Africa to resume the second innings at overnight score of 118 for 2 on day 4 of second test at Johannesburg today. And with that we end the morning news. Have a nice day.